Hey guys, Game Ross here. Today I'm gonna talk about my SRS Skeletal Arsonist Infernalist build guide. Before I continue, just a quick reminder, I also stream on Twitch, so if you want to watch me do live gameplays of Path of Exile 2 or have any questions, then you can catch me there. Now with that said, let's get into the video. First, I'm gonna talk about skills. First is this Infernal Hound and its support gem. To make this video a little bit shorter, I previously made a video about the best support gems for the Infernal Hound and fully explaining their benefits, so I'm gonna put the link in the description to that video. The first support gem is Last Gasp. I honestly think this is the only defense support gem that the Infernal Hound needs, but in order for this to work properly, you will need these minion revive nodes. The next support gem is Fire Exposure. With this, your Infernal Hound will now also lowers the fire resistance of the enemies, and with this strip away, this will increase the effect of fire exposure. Next is Searing Flame. This gem will boost the ignite damage of the Infernal Hound by 75%. For the last support gem, you can pick between Meat Shield and Infernal Legion. Infernal Legion will basically doubles the ignite damage of the Infernal Hound, but its life will slowly burn down to 0, which I think is totally okay as long as you're using this Last Gasp. And this Meat Shield will lower the ignite damage of the Infernal Hound, but will give lots of max life. The next gem that I'm using is Raging Spirits. Raging Spirits is a spirit gem which can be activated by reserving 30 spirits. Once activated, you will be able to summon Raging Spirits by hitting enemies with fire spells or by using area of effect spells. And this build uses Firewall to summon Raging Spirits. The first support gem is Feeding Frenzy. This gem gives 30% more damage, but the minions will also take 20% more damage, which I think is perfect for Raging Spirits because the enemies cannot directly target them, but they're still able to die from area of effect hits. Another support gem is Fire Infusion for extra 25% fire damage, Immolate for another 30% extra fire damage, and it says here this will only work if the enemies are ignited, and since the Infernal Hound ignites the enemies all the time, Immolate is always in effect. I'm also using Martial Tempo for more attack speed and fire penetration. You can also use these support gems to turn your Raging Spirits to exploding minions, or what most people call it, the popcorn build. I honestly cannot distinguish which has better damage, but if we're talking about clear speed, I think exploding minion is much better. But the reason I'm not using exploding Raging Spirit is because in order to make them explode faster, you need to lower your minions' elemental resistances. And when I did that, my other minions keeps dying. Another minion that I'm using is Skeletal Arsonist. Skeletal Arsonist is a minion gem that allows you to summon an auto-reviving skeletal minion that throws projectile bombs, and you need to reserve 37 spirits to summon one Skeletal Arsonist. This is the reason why you need to stack a lot of spirit in your build, so you can have a good number of minions. The first support gem is Scatter Shot. This gem will make your Arsonist throw 3 bombs per attack. I think this is the best support gem for your Arsonist because if they have a good amount of increased area up effect, those 3 bombs per attack will all hit a single target. I'm also using Elemental Focus for additional 25% more elemental damage, and I'm using Minion and Fire Mastery for additional 2 gem levels. For the last support gem, I honestly don't know which one is the best for the 5th slot, but I think Super Critical is good. This gem will give lots of critical damage but will lessen the critical hit chance. But what I decided is not to use 6-link Skeletal Arsonist and just get a 5-link Skeletal Arsonist, but with +1 level from Corruption. Basically, it's like having another +1 level support gem. But obviously, it's better to have 6-link and +1 level from Corruption, but the gem is gonna be very, very expensive. So using 5-link with +1 level from Corruption is a better alternative and way, way cheaper. I also want to explain why my minion support gem setup are like this. First of all, I think Skeletal Arsonist deals more damage compared to Raging Spirits. And I think these are the better support gems for your minions to deal more damage. But as you can see, I'm using it on my Raging Spirits. And the reason for this is because I think Raging Spirits will essentially deal more damage because you can easily resummon them. But the Skeletal Arsonist will essentially deal less damage when they die. And another reason is because I want to make my Arsonist more tankier. And that's why I'm using this plus level support gem on my Arsonist, because increasing their level means increasing their max life, making them more tankier. Like I said earlier, I'm using Flame Wall to summon my Raging Spirits. Another benefit from using this skill is this projectile which passes through the wall deals 64 to 91 additional fire damage. This will significantly boost the damage of your Arsonist. Also try getting +1 level from Corruption for additional damage. For the Flame Wall, I'm using Fortress. Normally, casting Flame Wall will create a straight line wall of flame, but with this support gem, the Flame Wall will be in a circle formation. Casting this on an enemy will be encircled with wall of flames, so no matter where your Arsonists are standing, their projectile will always pass through the Flame Wall. Another support gem is Spell Cascade. Thanks to this support gem, casting Flame Wall once will create 3 wall of flames. And lastly, I'm using Inspiration for less mana cost. Another gem that I'm using is Flammability. Flammability is a curse spell that lowers the enemy's fire resistance, and I'm using Heightened Curse to increase its effect. I'm also using Flammability to quickly gain lots of Infernal Flames, and later I'm gonna tell you guys why you need to do that. Also, increasing the quality of the gem will increase its effect. Another gem that I'm using is Grim Feast. To simply put, during mapping, this gem will literally doubles your energy shield. As you can see right now, I have 4.5k energy shield. During mapping, thanks to this gem, my energy shield can go up to 9,000. This gem will make your mapping so much comfortable. The often reason why I die is because I get overconfidence tanking huge mobs. Another gem that I'm using is Pain Offering. Casting this on your minions will sacrifice 2 of your Arsonists, greatly boosting the damage of your minions. This gem alone gives 30% increased attack speed and 50% more damage to your minions. And on top of that, I'm using Ablation and Dance Macabre, which increase the effect of my offering. I'm also using Font of Rage, so my minions will gain rage over time. And lastly, I'm using Persistence, so my offering will last longer. Also, I'm using Eye of Winter. Eye of Winter is a cold spell that applies Critical Weakness. Critical Weakness is a debuff that gives enemies higher chance to receive critical hits. and this can go up to 10% critical hit chance. I supported this skill with Unleash, so casting this once will release 3 Eye of Winters, making it so much easier maxing the stack of critical weakness. Also, I supported this with Mobility and Arcane Tempo, and this is totally optional. I honestly don't know what other support gem to use with this skill, but you can also consider using Deceleration. I think this will really help hitting a single target a lot of times. And lastly, I'm also using Ball Lightning and Lightning Warp. Casting a single Ball Lightning and casting Lightning Warp on that Ball Lightning will leave a shocking ground. For those of you who don't know, Shock is a debuff that makes the enemies take more damage. To be honest, it's kind of annoying using this method, but this also gives a good additional damage to my minions, so mostly I use this on bosses. I supported Ball Lightning with Acceleration for more projectile speed, and you can totally ignore these 2 support gems. Ball Lightning itself has a small chance, very small chance to shock enemies, and this just increase the chance to shock, and this will basically permanently shock the enemies. I supported my Lightning Warp with Overcharge, which increased the effect of shock, and I'm also using Magnified Effect and Expanse, which greatly improve its air up effect. If you have 10 extra spirit, you can also consider using this support gem on your aura. I'm only assuming this also applies on your minions. Now let's talk about gears. For the weapon, you will be using a scepter, and just look for as many spirits that you can find, because the more spirits you have, the more minions you can summon. Another important mod for your scepter is plus level to all minion skills. This will give so much damage to your minions. And for the other mods, you can look for allies in your presence have increased damage, increased attack speed, accuracy, increased max life, increased crit chance, crit damage, and additional fire damage to attacks. Also, don't forget to increase the quality of your scepter. Increasing the scepter's quality increases the number of spirits it will give you. For the shield, I'm using Oaksworm Sigil Crest Shield. This shield gives 50 spirits and a good amount of chaos resistance. And look for a very high block chance. Having high block chance makes your mapping even much more comfortable. You may have noticed that I have another set of scepter and shield on my weapon set too. And the reason for that is because Grim Feast only spawn remnants when you kill a monster or when your minions die, which doesn't really happen much during boss fights. So I think it's better to deactivate Grim Feast during boss fights, and then you will add additional minion. But that's going to be a lot of work. Opening the skill tab, deactivating Grim Feast, and then adding additional minion, and then you will do that all over again after killing the boss. But you can easily do that by having another set of scepter and shield, and then on your skill tab, go to your Grim Feast, click this arrow, and then uncheck this weapon set 2, and then on your Skeletal Arsonist, click this arrow, and then click this plus sign on your weapon set 2 to add additional minion. If you do this just by pressing X, you will be able to deactivate Grim Feast and add one additional minion. Next, for the body armor, I'm using Expert Shaman Mantle. Expert Shaman Mantle has an additional spirit implicit, and then you can get additional spirit mod. So this body armor gives me 71 additional spirits, and that's the main reason I'm using this body armor. For the helmet, look for +2 to level of all minion skills. Again, plus level to all minion skills gives so much damage. Also, look for as much energy shield on your helmet, because this build gains so much energy shield from helmets. For the boots, just look for high movement speed, and for the rest of your gear, just look for resistances and max life as well. And another important mod for your gears is either strength or intelligence, and you will be needing this for gears and gem requirements. Lastly, for the amulet, Just look for +2 to level of all minion skills and spirit. And you can also look for increased max energy shield. And I anointed this amulet with Deadly Swarm, which gives my minion increased damage and increased critical hit chance. For this, you'll need Distilled Paranoia, Despair, and Disgust. The only expensive gear on this build is this amulet. This cost me 2 divines, which is not that much. I'm just saying this amulet is the most expensive item on this build. But the rest of my gears probably cost me between 100 to 150 exalts. So that's why I consider this build a budget version. But if you have lots of currency, then you can consider using 2 of these rings, which gives lots of resistances, and it gives additional spirits. And if you use this belt, this will increase the effect of your rings. Also, you can buy a corrupted helmet that has additional spirit implicit. Again, I consider this a budget version, but if you want even cheaper gears and make your build even more tankier, then you can consider using this body armor. This body armor gives so much energy shield. And you can even more become tankier if you use this soul core, which increase your maximum fire resistance. And the reason for that is because of this Ascendancy node Altered Flesh. Basically, the higher your max fire resistance is, the less elemental damage you will take. I would highly recommend using this gear setup when leveling. Like I said, this is much cheaper gears and you're more tankier. And this body armor, you can wear it at level 1. For the charm, I'm using Towing for freeze immunity. I also want to mention this headgear. This gives 50% increased damage to your minions. But this doesn't really give lots of defense, so I would only use this on leveling. Also, these boots reduces the reservation of your minions. This greatly improves your damage, but these boots doesn't really have increased movement speed. That's why I don't like using this. I think that's all I can say about the gears. Now let's talk about the skill tree and ascendancy. For the Ascendancy, you will be taking Infernalist, and the first one that you should take is this Infernal Hound. This will give you so much damage and good defense as well. The next one is Pyromantic Pact. This will convert your mana to Infernal Flames. Basically, when you get this, you don't have to worry about your mana anymore. The next one is this Seething Body. This will give you and your minion 20% more extra fire damage. And some of you might say that it's annoying to keep your Infernal Flame high, which is true. But for me, it's not that very difficult because just by using Flammability twice, I'm already on high Infernal Flames. But honestly, I only keep myself in high Infernal Flames during boss fights or when there's a lot of mobs like Ritual or Breach. Lastly is this Altered Flesh. With my gear setup, this Ascendancy node doesn't really give that much defense except this 20% physical damage taken as chaos damage. This basically gives me like 15% less physical damage taken. But when you increase your max fire resistance, that's when you will take less elemental damage. Also, if you have high armor and you anoint your amulet with this heat proofing, with this node and your high armor and with this altered flesh, you will also take less elemental damage. I wouldn't consider using Chaos Inoculation. This will basically gives you a little bit of physical defense, but you will lose all of your max life. So I think it's a better defense to have life. For the skill tree, I think almost every minion nodes in this skill tree is incredibly helpful. Obviously, get this increased minion damage nodes and this life nodes here and this revive nodes and another one here. And this increased area up effect, I think they are very important for your Skeletal Arsonist. Skeletal Arsonist attack is area up effect, and with this scatter shot, they will throw 3 bombs. And if they have good amount of area up effect, all those 3 bombs can hit a single target. Also get these critical nodes here and this node here. And these two nodes here will increase your minions accuracy, especially this one. Again, for your attributes, just use your intelligence and strength for your gears and gem requirements. For the rest of your attributes, convert your nodes to dexterity, because this node gives a lot of accuracy to your minions. As you can see, one dexterity grants 5 accuracy. I'm also using these nodes here to increase the effect of my curse. And these 3 nodes here are really good because it's close to minion nodes. And this 3 gives lots of energy shield. As well as this node here. And this is the reason why your helmet gives so much energy shield. And this also gives energy shield and max elemental resistances. And you can also consider getting this node here, because this gives lots of energy shield. Also, this node here gives lots of increased block chance. And this is for more minion damage, resistances, life. Here for additional elemental resistance for your minions. And for the jewels, just look for max energy shield, minion damage, minion resistances. And you can also consider getting maximum energy shield as additional stun threshold and increase magnitude of shock. I think that's all I can say about this build. In case I forgot anything or I have any updates to this build, then I will add those information and pin it on the comment section. That's it for this video, and if you guys like it, please give a like and subscribe to my channel. Again, I also stream on Twitch, so if you have any question, you can leave your questions in the comment section, or you can visit me on Twitch and you can ask your questions live. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video.